Islamic plagiarisms, cultural evidences from textual study. The first plagiarism in the Quran is the infamous passage in Quran 396 and word 7, which has a subtle reference marrying Psalm 84:6. Strong's 1056 Hebrew, whether this is a typo for Makkah, which is only one letter off, or it was referencing an actual historical place in the valley of Baca near Jerusalem. But textually, Strong's 4347 bears remarkable similarity. I should do a whole video comparing contrasting Quranic words and terms and Strong's concordance, but a book is in the works. The evidence is pretty clear that there is a ritual which bears similarity to the pilgrimage leading to my second point. Second plagiarism, Hajj, which is Strong's 2282, meaning festival or feast, but the two go hand in hand. Also similar to Strong's 2328, meaning to circumvent, which is identical in the Syriac Aramaic Hajjah, mentioned notably in Quran 2:189 and word 9, is almost identical to the Syriac, but glaringly in the translators of the Quran, that is, in their mistake, yes, the translators of the English Quran made a mistake, to interpret the 11th word in this section, same section, Quran, Surah 2, passage, or section 189, word 11, which is biru, coming from Strong's 1252, found only 6 times in Scripture, and spoken by the prophet Isaiah and also David in his Psalm 18, which is for those familiar with Psalm 18, is also found in 2 Samuel chapter 22, but also in Isaiah 125. All, not surprisingly, in a specific liturgical order in the Syriac Orthodox Church, with the exception of the word standing alone in the poetic word, Job chapter 22, verse 30. The gematria here in the Bible alone is proof of divine ordinance. I should do a separate video on gematria and number in scripture with sections by the famous book title. But anyways, biru, again, circling back, Quran 2:189, verse 9, biru does not mean righteousness. Literally, perhaps figuratively, but actually refers to lye soap. And that's taken from Strong's 1252. It actually originates from Strong's 1305, barar, occurring 18 times all throughout Scripture, and in Arabic it means pious. But in Hebrew it is used as a verb meaning to purify. In Quran 2:196 and word 3, we also find a derivation, so same section in the Quran. We find a derivation of umrah being in this section of the Quran, umrata, which finds its ultimate origin in which is Strong's 517, so it's a Hebrew word meaning mother, genealogically lineated, to Strong's 523 Hebrew, meaning a nation, ummah, meaning a nation, a people group, and a tribe, found only 3 times in Scripture, which are Genesis 25:16, Numbers 25:15, and Psalm 117:1. Funnily enough, as most Semitic roots, Assyrian is ummatu, but umrata, as found in the Quran, is of course Syriac Aramaic. So you have a country or a nation being, so contextually meaning, you have a country or a nation, which is Israel, and this umrata is a different word. But then you have the tribe of Levi, for example. This is a tribe group or a subgroup of a nation, which is umrah. As a side note, the more you look into Quranic etymologies, and especially foreign words, one will see that these word origins are sparsely used in Scripture. Very interesting, which is coming from a lexical and a cultural view. But what drives home this plagiarism, totaling to at least 3 copy and pastes in this section of Surah chapter 2, section 196. And there's probably more, but this is just from what I can gather. Finally, to wrap this video up, we have a fourth point, which is sajda, which originates from the Ethiopian Orthodox liturgy Seged, which is a prostration committed by those in the Alexandrian rite. So in their service, they actually do this sajda, not specifically Muslim or in the Muslim technique, but is actually in the Alexandrian rite. But it's interesting that's a specific Ethiopic Orthodox liturgy, or the gaze. So the gaze is the service wherein the people, the Ethiopians, participate, and it is what, not to offend, but basically is the grandfather of the Muslim form of sajda. Mentioned in Quran 48, section 29, word 24. Used in several different places, but it is ironically, this section ironically plagiarizes Matthew 13, which is not only a plagiarism, but it's butchered in its retelling. This section is also one of the few places, 4 times total, that the honorific term Muhammad is mentioned. Specifically in the Coptic service, prostration is called sagda. It is a prayer which invokes the mercy of God. Same as in the Ethiopic service. Strong's 5456 notates this, but specifically Strong's 5457 Aramaic is found 12 times, all directly taken from the book of Daniel. I should mention that this is prostration for the sake of worship, and is typically within a liturgical service. Now, as another side note, the Hebrew form of the word is taken from the book of Isaiah, where it is mentioned 5 times. Interestingly enough, because the writers of the Quran desire to enslave their followers to the daily obligatory and legalism of the Salat, which involves prayer 5 times a day. Whether or not this was intentional is still a matter of study, but the syncretism of Eastern Christian, Jewish, and Syriac influence, and apparently Ethiopic, is definitely a factor. There are several Ethiopic words which are Arabized, and some of these are found in Surah Ma'idah, which the title of Surah chapter 5, Ma'idah, is actually an Ethiopic word in origin. Additionally, Hawariun, which is the Ethiopic word for, which is the Arabized form of the Ethiopic word for apostles. These evidences of syncretism in the Islamic narrative are proof enough, for me at least, of plagiarism and why Islam is a lie. Additionally, not many people know this, but as again, another side note, going back to Hajj and Makkah and all that, the Samaritan Jews have been circumambulating around Mount Gerizim for a millennia at least, which is their ritual to complete their 7-day practice of Passover. It takes 6 days to complete Hajj. Most ancient Near Eastern culture and some Hindu and Buddhist practice circumambulation as well. So for this to be incorporated into Islam's practice of the Hajj is more syncretic. Islam only borrows, and that goes for most cults. In conclusion, by these plagiarisms evidently seen as evidence in the Quran, which the Quran is just one big plagiarism, is my point. Evidently, there is a place which embodies a house, as the section says in Beit, Beiruta, etc., and a feast or festival, this is Hajj, must involve some type of slaughtering, which, albeit must signify a sacrifice, Islam substitutes as its own twist on a strange cult-like hybrid in between post-exiliarch Judaism that happened after the destruction of Jerusalem and pre-Orthodox rabbinical Judaism. In other words, a non-temple Judaism, and its syncretism with ancient Near Eastern Christian languages, only incorporating pagan elements without the veneration of idols. However, the Hajj, Sajjad, the reference to Baka, all sounds very Jewish in influence, at least to me.